What's up, everyone? It's the OOTP GM, and I want to welcome you all to the second episode of my Detroit Tigers GM Let's Play here on Out of the Park Baseball 18. So we are here beginning of June. It is the first year player draft, and we are playing surprisingly good baseball. We are 34 and 23 at this point. We've been in first half for most of the year, but Cleveland went on a 13-game winning streak currently, and so they've knocked us out of first place. But otherwise, we've been playing really well. We're still the number one wild card, so I can't really complain with how the team's been doing. Our offense has been carrying us, though. We're first or second in runs scored, batting average, and on-base percentage. Our pitching has not been as good. Our lone bright spot has been Justin Verlander. He's been a beast for us this year. He's probably, if he's not the favorite for the Cy Young, he's close. And he pitched a no-hitter in the very first game of the year, so that was pretty cool. So I'm kind of hoping that we're going to get some better performances out of the rest of our pitchers as we get closer to the trade deadline to kind of make a decision on what direction we're going to go with the team. And we'll see where things go, but otherwise, I can't really complain about how the year has gone. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get right into the first-year player draft. I had to tweak the draft order because it wasn't correct. So this is the correct first-round order. After that, you can't modify the draft order. So Tigers have the 18th pick, so we're going to go ahead and head right in. And we're going to see what happens here. All right, so some of these guys here are ranked really highly in real life. Some of them, it's going to be they're pretty close in terms of getting accuracy to real life, but sometimes there's guys that are rated really high that aren't rated really high in real life. As you can see, the pitcher that the Tigers actually took, Alex Faedo, he's a 3.5 star pitcher according to our GM. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draft Jeter Downs. I did a little bit of I looked this up a little bit before I came in, and I'm going to draft Jeter Downs. He went pretty high in the real life MLB draft. I don't remember what position he got picked, but he went pretty high. We're going to go ahead and take him, 18-year-old shortstop. We're going to draft him, and then we're going to go to the next round here, and I'd love for Faedo to still be available, but I don't think he's going to be, and he is not. He was drafted, so I was looking at some of these other guys up here, and I think we're going to draft Blake Hunt, the catcher here. Again, I looked this up a little bit ahead of time, so I wouldn't have to spend as much time looking at the pitchers, or the players just in general. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to draft Blake Hunt here in the second round. And then when we get here to the third round, these impossible players, these guys that are impossible signs, we have so much remaining budget room for our draft pool. I'm going to go ahead and look to draft a couple of these guys and see if we can maybe sign them. So the first guy I'm going to look at here is Jordan Adell. He's an 18-year-old pitching prospect. We're going to go ahead and we're going to draft him. And we're going to move on to our next pick. And I'm going to decide between Nick Allen and Jordan Anderson. Now, the one thing I did want to show, in this year's game, they kind of streamlined what the prospects look like. Normally, if you went into the BNN page here, they normally would have like a personality makeup in old versions of the game. They would have like what his desire for winning is, his leadership ability, his work ethic. They don't have that anymore. They just have kind of a general overview of what his personality is. I used to look for guys based on what their work ethic was. Guys that had a high work ethic usually had a better chance of working out, but you don't need to necessarily look for that anymore. You just look at what their overall personality is. So Nick Allen, our scouting director, really likes him. He thinks he's an elite hitting prospect. He's a plus runner. He's got good defense. Now, we did draft a shortstop already earlier, and he can play also second base. Nick Allen can play second base for us in the future. And then Jordan Anderson is an outfield prospect. He can play all three outfield positions. Got a pretty good outfield makeup. The only thing I don't like about him is his discipline is not very good. Doesn't project very good for the majors. So that's one thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and draft Nick Allen, even though we already drafted a shortstop, simply because I like the fact that he has good discipline and avoids Ks. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna draft Nick Allen here, and then next pick. And as you can see, Anderson was taken, so we're gonna look here. I'm trying to still a lot of really good players left available, and I was kind of looking through a lot of these different guys. David Bedgood's a guy that has worked out really well for me in past saves, but I don't need another shortstop. Cash Case is another guy in previous saves that's worked out really well. I'm gonna kind of look between these outfielders here: Kel Johnson, Kanan Smith. I don't like the fact that Kel Johnson doesn't avoid Ks. Jonathan Rodriguez. Kane Smith's a little bit more. He actually can play catcher too, but he looks like a pretty decent player. Has a can-do attitude as position player. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna draft Kanan Smith, and he's a left-handed bat, which is obviously a plus. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna draft him, an outfielder. Then we're going to move on to our next pick here in the 6th round. And a lot of these guys obviously still available. At this point is when I start getting recommendations from my scouting director. Now he's recommending this Pat DeMarco, who's a center fielder. Sometimes I don't even bother to look at them if I don't see them right away. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to scroll down here and see if there's any other players. I'm going to try to look for another pitcher. And the top pitcher that's left is Kevin Abel. Now he has a $2.4 million draft demand, but looks like he projects out. Doesn't just listen, he takes notes. That's something that you want to see as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draft Kevin Abel here in the 6th, because we do have lots of room for different guys. We have quite a bit of money, so I'm going to look for scouting recommendation again. Seth Corey, they're recommending. He's another starting pitcher. Now, he's an impossible guy. I'm going to go ahead and draft him anyways, because sometimes, even these impossible guys, sometimes their demands aren't ridiculous. Sometimes they're actually reasonable. So we're going to go ahead and draft him. I'm going to look for another scouting recommendation. Cash Case is another. He's worked out well for me in the past, so I actually, because he's available, I'm going to draft him. I didn't realize he was still available. And like I said, we might not be able to get these impossible guys, but it never hurts to take a flyer on them. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give my scouting director recommend another guy. He's recommending Matt Given, who's a starting pitcher. Let's see. We've got Blake Beers, who's a relief pitcher. What does he look like? Enjoys hanging out with teammates. He's got a really good curveball. Scouting reports. Projects to be a mid to long reliever. Can hit the corner. He has good control. I'd like to see that in an 18-year-old having good control. So we're gonna draft him. And then I normally do about 10 rounds of the draft, and then I call it quits, and I let my assistant handle the rest. I'm gonna look through here, see if there's anybody. Now Matt Given is a starting pitcher. He's another impossible guy. What is he? Adapts well, fits well. Wow, he's got some. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and give Given a shot too. He's only 17 years old. And, he's another impossible guy, but it doesn't hurt to take a flyer on that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to complete the rest of the draft. And we will see what happens here. I am kind of curious to see what guys get drafted where in terms of if Hunter Green went number 1 overall in this draft in the game, or if somebody else went number 1 overall. So I'm going to take a quick peek at that once it finishes drafting here. It's always curious to see exactly where certain players go. And logs, last draft log, here we go. Alright, so round 1. Yeah, so Hunter Green did go number 1 overall. Royce Lewis, who was the real life number 1 overall pick, he went number 3. And I'd like to see where Faedo went. Oh, he went 1 pick after me. So Faedo went 19th to the San Francisco Giants. So he did not last very long. But all right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna advance to next day. And after we advance to the next day, I'm gonna start negotiating with my draft picks, and we will see. I will probably end the episode after I negotiate with these guys. I will end the episode here. Like I said, I don't want these episodes to be really long. And then we'll pick up with part 2 of the mid-season, where I will I'll do the international free agency period and then the trade deadline. That might be a little bit of a longer episode, but we'll kind of see where it goes. So Jeter Downs is the number 1 overall pick. He wants $4.4 million, and we're gonna go ahead and meet his demand, and we're gonna submit that. Now, see, the nice thing here is Blake Hunt only wants $190,000, which is really good. So we can go ahead and meet his demand, move on. Jordan Adele wants $5.5 million, so we're not going to be able to sign him. That's too much. $7 million for Nick Allen. Again, this is far too much. We're not going to be able to sign these guys, unfortunately. So they're going to be moving on. Kanan Smith only wants $190,000. That is the slot bonus, so we're going to do that. Kevin Abels at $2.4 million. So I'm going to go ahead, because I have I still have a little bit of budget room left. I'm going to go ahead and meet Abel's demand and look to sign him. And then we're going to start looking at some of these other impossible guys. 3.6, that's too much. 4 million, that's too much. Given 3.2, that's too much. These 13th round guys probably aren't going to be worth it either. No, 4 million's not worth it. He wants 3.2. See, every once in a while you get lucky, and one of these impossible guys will say they want like $200,000 or something. So, all right, so it looks like we are not going to sign our 3rd and 4th round picks, which, you know, sometimes you take a risk when you do that, but so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to move forward till next week, see if we get those guys signed. And once we get those guys signed in, I'll go ahead and end the episode, and we will move on. Okay, so personal message here. This probably, yeah, so we got Jeter Downs. Most of these guys, because we met their demands, are going to sign. That's pretty much the way it usually works. As long as you meet their demands, then they will sign. Ooh, we just lost Victor Martinez for 5 to 6 weeks. He was having a pretty good season for us. So Victor Martinez out. So we'll have to put him on disabled list, 10-day disabled list. And we'll call up Jim Aducci, I think. He's hitting 248. Is there anybody else that's playing better down in minors here? Let's see. We don't have anybody else that's on our major league roster, unfortunately. Hinkle. Holiday's hitting 268. He's been called up. What about Steven Moya? Moya's hitting 213, but he's been playing pretty well. Moya's been playing pretty well between the two levels. What has Aducci been doing? He's hitting 248. We're going to go ahead and call up Aducci because he's already on the major league roster. And then we'll go ahead and have our manager depth charts and lineups. So that moves JD Martinez into the DH slot for the time being. So, alright, let's go ahead and finish moving on to next week here. See if we can get the rest of our players signed. Alright, so it looks like Kanan Smith has signed on. Like I said, try to see if we can get the rest of these guys. And we're expected to take 6 days. That's not a big deal. He's just a reliever. I'm not too concerned about that. It's only day-to-day for 6 days. So, but as you can see, we're actually still playing pretty well here. We had went on a little bit of a streak there, and all right, Kyle Ryan, American League. Oh, Miguel Cabrera. That's good to see. All right, let's go ahead and just keep continuing to sim here, see if we can finish getting these guys signed and moved on. So Alright, so we moved on to next week. I'm going to go ahead and just end the episode here, and I'll show you guys later once we get proof that these guys ended up signing. So, alright, thank you guys for tuning in here to this second episode here of my GM Let's Play. I will be back with the third episode soon, which will encompass the international free agency period and the trade deadline. We'll see where the team is at and what moves, if any, we need to make. So thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe, and leave any comments and feedback down below. And I will see you guys next time.